So good morning, each and every single one of you, dear classmates, especially to you, Sir Manugas. We're the Group 5, and today we're going to present the non-interview data gathering methods. There are four contents of this our report, which is phone interviews, mail surveys, focus group, and site visits. So first is what is non-interview data gathering methods? Eh, Non-interview data gathering methods. In today's business environment, when almost all office workers are provided with a personal computer, and almost all managers have one as well, it has become increasingly necessary to extend the scope of the data gathering uh, process to a larger portion of the workforce. In some cases, it has become necessary to gather data from all employees in a given areas, or even in extreme cases throughout the firm. The in- uh, Obviously in these cases, interviewing everyone is impractical. There are several data gathering methods which are used in these cases. So first is the RJ.
So the first is the phone interviews. These are you these are used to gather non-sensitive yes or no types of answers to highly focused questions. Characteristics. Sample size is relatively limited. The response is rate is relatively good. The turnaround time is very fast, moderate cost, good for gathering relatively simple data. Next slide, words. So advantages and disadvantages of phone interviews. Advantages. The interviewer can clarify questions if answers are not understood. It is the fastest method to collect information and has a better response rate than mail surveys. Next one is it is the least expensive type of interview. And disadvantages. There is no opportunity to establish a rapport with the interviewee. The scope of the survey is necessarily limited. Respondents tire quickly during the interview. It is difficult to schedule phone interviews in advance. It is difficult getting return calls. To be effective, develop a short, concise, clear script. Test the question to be asked with project team members and several potential respondents. Contact the respondent before the interview and gain agreement in the interview. Set a time for the interview with the respondent in advance. Next one is forward a questionnaire to the respondent prior to the time of the interview containing brief background information on the project and all questions to be asked. This will help them to prepare for the actual interview. And last one is try not to deviate from the predefined script.
So that is for the phone interviews. Next one is mail surveys, which will uh, expound by General Rizada.
So, good morning, sir. So, let's move on to the mail surveys. These are the, these are used to gather broad, quantifiable data from a large sample. So, characteristics. Sample size is very broad. Response rate is relatively low. Turnaround time is low. Very low cost. Good for gathering either quantifiable or non-sensitive data. So let's move on to the advantage and disadvantages of mail surveys. So first, the advantage. The advantage of mail surveys, it can be answered at the interviewee's own time and place. The second one is the The answer are not as susceptible to bias. The third one is it can reach more people, and the last one is it is easier to administer and easier to compile. So let's move on to the disadvantages of mail survey. There is no control over who will respond. Yes. Second one is there is no report with the interviewee. And the third one is 30% or 40% response rate is considered very good, with a typical response rate being closer to 10%. And uh, say, the fourth one is there is a lower probability of getting detailed information. And the last one is there is no opportunity to clarify ambiguous answers. Let's move on to the how to be effective mail survey. Develop a questionnaire with a short, concise, clear questions, not susceptible to ambiguous answers. Second one is test the questions to be asked with project team members and several potential respondents. The third one is contact the respondent before the after every survey is distributed. The next one is make the survey quick and easy to complete. Try for a survey takes no more than 30 minutes to complete. And the next one is include a post-paid envelope with a questionnaire. And the last one is ask the permission to follow up or any answer that are unclear and ask for a contact number and best time for contact. So that's all for the mail surveys.
So thank you for that, Kenra Rizada. That's for the mail surveys. Now let's move on to focus groups, which will expound by Dave Selma.
Okay, good morning, sir. Okay, focus group. These are used to be obtain different reaction to one topic. Focus group generates syner energy provided the participants are at the same technical or organization level. Characteristic. Sample size is relatively limited. Participation rate is relatively good or around time is good. Moderate to high cost, good for gathering either simple or highly detailed data. Play ko next.
Advantages.
Advantages. The interviewer can clarify questions if answers are not understood. Next, it can be used to gather data from multiple sources concerningly. Next, the group interaction provides an immediate validation of the data gathered. And the disadvantage. The group can easily get off the topic if not facilitated properly. Next, it is different to schedule phone interviews in advance. Third is, it is difficult getting return calls and how to effectively distribute the agenda well before the meeting. Next, ask the participants to introduce themselves. Next, give the participants a concise background of the project. Tell them why they were invited and define the goals of the meeting. Next, start with essay topics and questions and work towards the difficult ones. Next, the documents the proceedings and forward a copy of the next proceedings. See next item to all participants.
So thank you for that, Dave Selma. And lastly, uh, this is the site visits. So these are used to obtain first-hand understanding of the processes, activities, physical environment, and working conditions. Characteristics. Sample size is relatively limited. Turnaround time is very slow, very high cost, good for gathering highly detailed data. So these are the advantages and disadvantages of site visits. So advantages. improves interviewer understanding of working project environment, obtain information which may not have been shared during the interviews, validates data gathered from other sources. As for the disadvantages, untrained or inexperienced team members may use it as an opportunity for a field trip rather than as a data gathering exercise. Number of sites that can be visited are limited. Time and resource consuming must be carefully scheduled well, well in advance. Opportunity for disrupted schedule or distractions is high. And these are some of the ways or how to be effective when it comes to site visits. Uh, per- First is prepare carefully. Make sure there is a clear agenda and that all participants are aware of the schedule. Verify all appointments in advance. And lastly, forward brief background information on the project and all questions to be asked to the interviewee in advance. This will help them to prepare for the actual interview. So that is all for our topic, which is the non-interview data gathering methods. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening, especially to you, Sir Manugas. Uh, Thank you. Stay safe and God bless us all.